Everyone, and welcome to Pencil It In. This is episode 4. My name is Jacob Pincel, your host. It's a sports business series. We're focused on the past, present, and future of the industry. And this time around, I'm very excited to announce our fourth guest, David Herman. He's a partner manager at Twitter Sports. So obviously, it's been a very busy time. And David, just want to thank you for hopping on board here and taking the time.
Happy to join. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. So I guess we'll start off by, obviously the NBA finals just ended. You guys have a great relationship with the league. That community is very strong. The MLB World Series is about to kick off. College football and the NFL are full steam ahead. So if you could just tell us a little bit about your role and what it currently entails, that'd be great.
Yeah, so, our role, and we, to get technical, we're what's called the content partnerships team at Twitter, and I work specifically in sports. Our group who works on sports is about 8 people strong in the US, 8 to 10, and we focus on bringing great content to Twitter from premium rights holders, leagues, teams, networks, whoever owns content, in our case sports, we're going to work with to make sure we're bringing video content to Twitter, engaging conversation to Twitter, spurring amazing only on Twitter activations, and really just helping the conversation grow in whatever sports entity that is. So we work across, as I mentioned, leagues, networks, teams, athletes, and individual agencies as well. And focusing on video content, whether that's live video, real-time highlights, VOD, content series, everything in between. And our deals look different across all of sports and with each of those rights holders. There's really no cookie cutter. This is what we do across the board. It really is focusing on what that entity or partner has, how we think them working with us could be a benefit for all parties, and creating and crafting a program that's not only really cool, but can help drive revenue and increase conversation. And so that's what we try and do. And I personally work across a few of our league partners, a few of our network partners, and then heavy in the college football and basketball space as well.
Very exciting. And hopefully the college basketball season tips off strong. And I know being at Turner Sports myself, we'd love to have us some March Madness. So definitely hoping there. So I'm very curious from like a revenue generation standpoint, how does that type of transaction go? Are you guys paying for different publishers and different athletes and teams and leagues to be on the platform, or do you sell advertising surrounding their content? Could you just explain that a little? Because I know there's so many different stakeholders on the platform.
Yes, I think as my team is kind of the intermediary between the content we're bringing in and the revenue we're generating. So let's take the NFL, for example. We work with the NFL in a variety of items. My coworker, Christine, handles the NFL relationship. And our bread and butter deal across many leagues, or parts of the deal, is related to real-time highlights. So your favorite player scores a touchdown or a big play happens, you're likely to see that posted onto Twitter within 60 seconds of that play happening, right? And the NFL does a great job of getting things out quickly. Our inventory is around selling pre-roll advertisements in front of those videos, right? And the beauty of Twitter is we're able to match this amazing premium content with an amazing brand and have that brand achieve their objectives by targeting their desired audience using that premium content. So let's say you're Verizon and you already spend a ton of money on the NFL and TV. You're planning for the year. You're buying your incremental across the board. You could buy a Twitter sponsorship package related to NFL content and target your users who you want to reach. Maybe that's males between 18 and 35 living in on the East Coast, making over $75,000 a year. That's totally made up. I don't know what they're targeting is and who they want to hit, but right, you're able to match this amazing group. So my job is to bring the content and negotiate the content, package that content, work with the NFL in the deal structure or any league or with whatever partner we're talking about, to then be able to bring that content either to our sales team, to sales teams at our partners who also have the ability to sell through Twitter programs, and really have a great match of a brand who wants to be involved in premium content. So for my group specifically, we're focused on inventory to bring our advertisers even closer to the content and hopefully do it at scale with as many top tier publishers as we can.
That's very interesting. And I mean, I'm sure at a time like this where, at least from a viewership perspective, I know a lot of the figures are falling for the leagues, but there's an abundance of content out there. So I'm sure you have some advertisers having to go through the nitty gritty and decide actually what leagues they spend with. But I know myself, kind of fantasy football player, waiting on Twitter to see that live touchdown. It's like if you don't have Red Zone, but you have Twitter, you can really get the same effect there. And, you know, that's what makes the platform so can't miss.
Yeah, I mean, look, Twitter is as real time as it gets. That's our bread and butter. That is what it's what works. It's why we all use Twitter, why we all engage in the platform, is to be able to be with everyone in the moment. I mean, something we've said for a while is Twitter is the world's best sports bar. There is no other way to have that same feeling that you do sitting next to someone at the bar with 100 people watching a sporting event. But instead of 100, why not millions? And have that conversation, that reaction all together by, you know, it's amazing. You see it around all sports, especially like community like the NBA, but everything. And think globally too, not just in the US, right? There's a group on Twitter for everyone. And that conversation is real time. You're not getting fed a highlight or something 4 days later. It's now. It's when it's happening. But it's a fun part of the platform and a unique part of the platform and an important one as well.
And you say, like, I love that sports bar comparison, especially in a time where hopefully we're not hitting too many of those right now and we're being safe. But I mean, how have you guys actually during the pandemic worked with leagues when there is less in-person viewership? There's less people actually at sports bars, which you would think means more people kind of on their phone, really adapting to that second screen experience. How have you guys looked to exacerbate that trend and amplify the leagues and just different media publishers during the pandemic when they might not have had as much touch through linear channels?
Totally. You know, so when sports, I don't know, back in March when everything shut down.
Forever ago.
Yeah, we started work to think about it, not knowing at the time how long we'd be in this, of course, like everyone else, but in our head at the time, it's like, okay, if we have a month without sports, what does the return of sports look like? What happens if we have no fans versus fans, all that stuff. So we went through a couple weeks for sure of thinking about where can we provide value and what can a sports environment with no fans look like, specifically with Twitter. And there's two sides of that. It's one, how to bring fans who maybe would be in the stadium or other fans closer to the experience, which now you physically cannot be at. But then secondarily, how do we provide something for the athletes to recognize that their fans are still cheering them on just like they would be in the stadium normally? And so we worked with a couple of our partners on different elements, right? Kelsey and our team who works with the NBA created this amazing program to, on the first couple games in the bubble, have tweets everywhere in the bubble on the court, those giant screens behind the court, to show the players that their fans are cheering them on in real time. It was in before the game, during timeouts, during halftime, all that fun stuff. You know, when the NFL, now the NFL has come back, we have Showtime camera, which is in behind the end zone where players can go celebrate and do really cool things. And that's put right back on Twitter. So fans can get that similar fun reactions to celebrating. Christina and our team has worked with that, and there's a brand involved as well, Bud Light. So, those are just few examples. We've worked on, we did some tweets in the bubble with the NHL and kind of bridging that gap. The MLB program we're doing right now with the World Series, my coworker Shelby is working on that. We're able to bridge this awesome way of actually getting tweets printed on baseballs to hopefully kind of bridge that connection again with fans to then hopefully, again, give players something fun to look at when they're batting practice and see all these tweets of fans reading them on, but then also hopefully give fans something back because they can't catch a foul ball in the stands, right? There is no, though I guess there'll be a couple folks there, but in general, not the 40,000, 45,000 people that you'd have at a World Series. So, we have some really cool programs where we've been able to bridge the gap of fans, athletes, merging those experiences together, just like you would have in the stadium. And we think Twitter is one of the best places that you can do that right now, just by nature of conversation and the ability to bring everyone together in kind of that real-time fashion in a lot of ways.
I would certainly agree. And I know as a fan, I before have tweeted out trying to get a shout out, for example, on TNT's Inside the NBA show. I mean, it's really real time. Like you could tweet and then Charles Barkley could be responding to your tweet 10 seconds later. And that's always a really good time. But I know you guys also really put together a interesting integration with like the confetti at the Super Bowl in the past. Could you just speak a little bit about that? And then I'm very curious how something that happens in person, like confetti falling, makes its way onto social media and really can be celebrated on the platform.
Hey guys, yes, I am. It's the confetti on the field. And take a look at this. These white pieces have tweets on them. This one says, all the pieces are filling into place at Chiefs. This is our year. Hashtag KC Kingdom Rise. This is a keeper, and so are all of these. The confetti of Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, and it's a great example. So it was a fun program. It seems like 10 years ago. It took a few years off our lives, that a couple weeks leading up to it. But, we have amazing partners at all of these leagues. And at the NFL, someone on their social team is incredibly creative, was like, hey, I think I have an amazing idea. I can't think of anyone else to work with on it, but let's see if we can figure this out. And what spurred of an idea off a text message of like, oh, that'd be cool, turned into a real thing. And I think your question is spot on, because it's bridging real life, physical, with on-platform, social and digital. So there has to be a tie-in to both. And, this program, for example, was a huge cross-functional effort across the NFL and Twitter in terms of social digital teams, marketing teams, event activation teams, third-party agencies helping us print confetti in real time and getting them into the cannons in time to be blown up right after the game, right? There's a lot of pieces of that happens. But ultimately, we want, again, going back to our original purpose of our team, driving revenue, driving conversation, making cool things happen. So confetti is about driving conversation. We're trying to think about ways to get people to tweet more in the lead up to the Super Bowl to generate more and more excitement about the game. What better way to do that than give them a reason to tweet? And that's where the physical things come in. So, right, hopefully we're encouraging conversation by nudging them to not only be part of the conversation, but have the potential to be part of a really cool activation. Who wouldn't want their tweet on a piece of confetti if their team just won the Super Bowl? What a cool memorabilia, what a cool thing to have, whether you physically get that or not, or just see a picture of it, or just know, hey, my tweet's somewhere in that confetti falling down. And so, driving conversation, getting people to tweet, physically producing those tweets on confetti, having them fall down, again, having the players experience the reaction of seeing these tweets, in some cases their own tweets from when they were very young or in college, dreaming about winning the Super Bowl, kind of telling this full circle kind of story of their journeys as well. And being able to piece all that together and capture it, most importantly, right? The photos, the content we got with it, videos of their reactions, seeing how it all came together. But the goal was to really celebrate what was an amazing year in the NFL, and specifically the NFL Twitter community, which really took strides into this amazing kind of fun atmosphere that we hadn't seen before, and do something that was really awesome. So again, it was a great program, and we thought a really good way to both give people a reason to tweet, but also physically produce something that represented not only Twitter, but the players themselves, the fans, and the NFL in a really cool way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was an amazing program, and I just remember it watching from my couch. I regretted not tweeting before the game. It was a tough year for the Bears, so I wasn't too ingrained, but maybe this year, who knows? there's always going to be just people like me, regular people tweeting. But we've seen a big shift in how active athletes are on the platforms, whether that be Instagram, Twitter is where you see a lot of the conversation going, which is always a fun time. But what's the relationship like between the platform and Twitter and the athletes? And when you guys roll out kind of a new function, do you work with them to really help create engagement and then thus by, hopefully drive tune in general to games or to your platform?
Yeah, we have someone on our team who works, her job is to work with athletes and their agents and help them understand the value of using Twitter, whether that's to promote a charity, whether that's to promote their gameplay on the court, whether that's to be their own authentic self, or everything in between, right? Our goal is to help arm them with the information to be good at Twitter, but also feel like they're supported. Twitter is not always a fun place if you're a famous person. The comments, the notifications, the abuse at times, it's not fun. And we have to make that experience better. We try and not only help encourage them to use Twitter, but also do it in a way which can protect them and keep their experience positive. Ways to get rid of all that nastiness and focus on what they really want to be doing on the platform. So yeah, we work really closely with athletes directly. But also every athlete's a little bit different. Some athletes are just Instagram people, and that's what they use. Some are Twitter people, and that's what they use. Some are a little bit of both and use them for different things. Some won't use it at all and have someone else doing it for them. You name it, there's an example for all of it. You have athletes, like a Dwayne Wade, who's amazing at Twitter, and he does it all himself. He likes that interaction with his fans, and he likes actually being on the platform. We know LeBron is active on Twitter. We know there's countless examples, especially in the NBA, but even in the NFL, and look at college athletes in the last, 6 months in terms of using their voice a lot differently than previous, times, and them really feeling empowered to be on social media and use it, and the coaches getting behind that as well and encouraging it, especially as we've seen with all the social kind of activism we're seeing across the board. So it depends on what group of folks you're talking about, but we try to be as supportive as we can, as helpful as we can, help, partner on larger activations when we can. So really runs the spectrum with all things athlete related.
What's going on, everybody? That just about wraps up part one of my conversation with David Herman, a partnerships manager at Twitter Sports. A really interesting chat, in my opinion, in which he talks about how the platform fits in between leagues, teams, other social media companies, and athletes as well. Part two will be releasing next week. We'll be covering Twitter Sports in the high school space. We'll talk about the intersection between sports and culture, which these days are really one and the same. David will reveal some of his favorite moments of beef on the platform, where you see two sides going at it over the web and then potentially on the court later. He'll give a few brands to look out for that can give you some good laughs. And then we'll move on to the following week, which we have somebody from the Chicago Bulls tuning in. So I just want to thank you all for sticking with me throughout this. I hope you're learning something. We have the big election coming up on Tuesday. I hope you guys all stay safe, stay sane. Everybody really enjoy, and we'll be connecting then. Thank you.